Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sinead Says podcast, another season. So I hope you really enjoyed that lovely break and you caught up with all our other podcasts. Before we get into the episode, I just want to thank you so much because every time I finish a season, I'd be like, I wonder if we're coming back. I wonder if people want us back. And, you know, you do send me messages and you're like, oh, we need more. So I am so excited to be back and hopefully bring you like a fresh new amount of information because I'm studying a lot at the minute, but we'll get into that in a minute. But before we go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing to support us. It's just still me and Kyle and I am in my spare bedroom. So thank you so much. This is really my purpose and my passion. I get so excited to tell you everything that I've learned in my life, and there's always something to learn from other people. I do that little bit of extra studying for you guys so you can also experience learning new things. But I would really love if you could follow or subscribe to the podcast. It really, really helps me, and it also is so good for seasonal podcasts because you might miss a podcast and it just gives you that little notification when we are back, because we do have a little bit of a break. So I think we've had like a 6-week break, but I've actually come back this time with a different kind of fresh energy because I said I only want, because basically it works in seasonal podcasts and I've been doing 14 episodes a season, but I've decided to just bring it down to 10 episodes a season just so I can bring you the best value. And I don't, because honestly, guys, I just feel like I feel a lot of pressure then towards the end of the season. Why I feel so full of new information for you because I've had my season break, because I'm studying, and I'm just full of new information for you guys. And then I just want that to continue throughout the whole season of the 10 episodes. So would really, really love if you could follow or subscribe to the podcast. I now have a few, because there's so many podcasts, like, what is it, 130 something? We actually now have little sections on Sinead Hegarty Spotify. If I've put them on the different sections: human behavior, self-love, relationship podcast. So you can go in there and just shuffle and learn new things that way, because there is a lot of episodes, so I've had to try and organize them now. But before we get into the podcast and what we're doing today, I just want to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp, which couldn't be more aligned with our podcast, because our podcast is all about what we learn in therapy, what we learn about ourselves, and that's what therapy is all about. We learn more about ourselves so we have more resilience in life, and when we have more resilience, we go for all the things that we love and we reach our full potential. So that is why I love therapy. I am in therapy at this very present moment and I'm obsessed with my therapist, and we have the best time. We've created a lovely, lovely relationship as well, and she is so smart and she always has the best advice. And sometimes I even go in there. I went in the last day and I was like, look, I have nothing to report this week in terms of like anything to work on, because I actually feel so good and so fresh, and I feel like what you said last week really helped me. And she was like, okay, so let's focus on all the positive things that are happening in your life, which is so resonating with me right now because I'm also studying positive psychology. So then that actually made my day even brighter, and she taught me all these other tools. So I have to say that if you want to try therapy, you should try BetterHelp. It's affordable. It's so accessible. You can use it on your phone, and you can get 10% off your first month with betterhelp.com/Sinead. That is betterhelp.com/Sinead. Okay, so basically what I want to do today is do a quick intro, because some of you may be new to the podcast. Some of you probably need a little recap. But usually how this podcast works is you learn something new every week. Hopefully I can do a little update on my life at the beginning, usually anything, and then I do it into 3 different sections. So what I learned this week, and that is usually something to do with human behavior, something to do with psychology, something to do with that in order for you to learn as well. And then I'll do a quote of the week, which usually opens up a lovely conversation and a lesson as well. And then I usually hear from you guys. So we call that section the Sinead Says You Say. So I really want to hear from you guys. I really want to get back into the agony aunt vibes, like the big sister vibes. So please send in anything that you would like to talk about, or even if you just want to recap and ask a question about the week before, no problem at all. You just make sure you're also following the Sinead Says podcast on Instagram, because we actually started that. We should have started that at the beginning of our whole process, because I really wish we did that. So if you could please follow that as well, that would be really helpful. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is literally just an intro into what we usually do, and that is we learn new things. So I thought, why have we never talked about the psychology and what it does to your brain about learning new things? I have so much to talk about you so much to talk to you about this season because I've learned so much. So what's coming up in the season is learning a lot about love and relationships at the moment. And I'm also studying positive psychology, which is the study of our well-being and what makes us thrive more in life. And if you listen to my intro on the podcast about BetterHelp, it actually is funny because positive psychology just works so well with classical psychology. And that's what I'm studying at the minute, positive psychology. So basically, it's like the research of how to make us happier, but it works alongside classical psychology. So classical psychology is basically, trying to uncover our wounds and trying to uncover things to make us better. Whereas positive psychology is basically focusing on everything that's good in your life in order to rewire your brain to have more well-being in your life. And I've been obsessed with learning all about it, and I have been writing meditations nonstop because basically all the research on positive psychology, on how to make your life more infused with positivity and more positive in general, I can just wrap them all into meditations. So for you to have a more positive life, I can write them in the meditations, and then you can just do them 15 minutes of the day and it will completely enhance your life. If anyone doesn't know, I have a meditation app. It's called The Brave Way, and you can get it in the show notes as well. It is just $12.99 a month, and you can use code MEDITATE, or Sinead says, I can't remember which one it was, so hopefully one of them will work, and that will get you some money off your meditations as well if you want to try that. Okay, so positive psychology, relationships, that's what's coming up. We also have dove right into early love and why it hurts us so much. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm going to be interviewing some people. I'm actually reading a book called Manifest Your True Essence by Estelle Bingham. Hopefully we're going to get her on to interview her as well. That will be great because she talks about finding your true essence, and it's a very spiritual book, so it's nice to actually get in touch with my spirituality. I have been so in touch with my whole spirituality, my whole self. I've been in a very calm era of my life, guys, but we'll do that in a little update in a minute. But yeah, that's what's coming up. We've got a few guests, and hopefully you'll love that as well. So little life update, what's been going on since I have seen you. God, honestly, so much. I actually just ran a half marathon there yesterday, so I am feeling a little bit sore, but also feeling very proud of myself. And running a half marathon kind of reminded me of, if you're not a runner, basically there's this thing called runner's high, and it's this feeling of when you're running after, it's it kind of happens after a certain amount of kilometers, or when you're kind of flowing and you just feel this extreme happiness of flow and lots of dopamine, serotonin, all these things, and it's just the most beautiful, amazing feeling. It happens at a small part of your run because most of it is basically a mind battle, which especially a half marathon is. But when you look at the psychology of runner's high and what it is, you can experience runner's high without being a runner, and you can experience runner's high through meditation as well, because basically what runner's high is you're breaking through your brain, you're breaking through the negative talk of I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, and then you end up doing it anyway, and you get past it through a few kilometers. Very similar to in meditation, your first 10 minutes of your meditation, your first few minutes anyway, first 2 to 3 minutes, you're met with a lot of resistance by your mind. Same thing happens when you read a book. You go down and read a book and your attention wants to be stolen by your phone, and it's those moments where you say no to your brain and you focus on something that's going to give you delayed gratification, and that is something that will bring you that high, that runner's high, that surge of dopamine, that surge of serotonin, that you've done something that you're super proud of. And that feeling is absolutely, we thrive for those feelings of flow into our life, which is another part of positive psychology, because flow is a massive part to our well-being. Getting into periods of flow, whether it be in your work, whether it be in your running and your meditations, that is a massive key to your happiness and to the well-being of you and to the enhancement of your life. So yeah, it can be reached in different points of your life through running. I'm sure you guys have also experienced this, reading a book and then something really clicks, those feelings of flow, when you're working. For me, it's writing meditations. I probably am in flow right now while I'm speaking to you on this. It's very exciting, it's very invigorating. You'll feel it in your body. And I shouldn't be talking about the positive psychology just yet because but I'm already excited. But basically, like when I'll be working with clients in terms of positive psychology, we'll be working on like 5 pillars, and one of them is flow. So I'll be like, right, how can we get you into flow? Like, let's try and figure out what you like, and let's get you into a flow, because those moments of flow really enhance your quality of life. So yeah, that's what Runner's High does. I didn't really train that well because I was injured, and then I just thought, fuck it, I'll do it. I blame Jamie Lang because he did those 5 ultra marathons with no training, and I was like, oh well, that means I can do it. Which also brings you to, when you see other people doing stuff, it makes you believe that you can do it, and then that is the reason why people do things. It's not usually ability, it's usually the belief that they can do it. If you've read the book Think and Grow Rich, right? There's a lot about, you've probably heard the story before, but I can't remember if it was 1920s, 1960s, whatever, but no one had actually ran a 4-minute mile for like ever. 1 year, this one person ran a 4-minute mile. I don't know the exact numbers, but hundreds of thousands of people followed him in that year, and loads of people did a 4-minute mile. And not because they didn't have the ability, but because they actually believed they could, because they seen it in front of someone. That is why it's really good to like follow these amazing people on Instagram, or follow like these people, because seeing people do things that you don't think are achievable will make you actually believe that you can do it. So even if I'm starting a new business, I will usually go to other people who have a similar business and be like, okay, they can do it, you know, think about them as role models, and then the belief that I can usually can really, really help me. So yes, I didn't mean to even talk about that today, but here we are, Runner's High, all the jazz. I also got my permanent residency in Australia, which is so very exciting. I can't believe that all these years I've just wanted this to be my home, and it officially can be my home now. It's just the best feeling in the world, especially for Sam as well. My partner, he has been here for 10 years, and we're now together, permanent residents. It's like, oh my God, what do we do now? We don't know. We can buy homes, we can start more businesses, we can do more things. Like, we have a lot more access, and we can come and go as we please, which is absolutely fantastic. So, and honestly, I put the post up on Instagram thinking, I don't know, and people were just so nice. And it's mad because, you know, Instagram can be weird sometimes. Like I say, I talk about things like, you know, books and meditation, like people wouldn't interact as much with that. But then when they see something like that and they say like, oh my God, congratulations, you don't realize how many people are still here supporting me. And I just thanks very much. So yeah, that's my little life update. I don't want to keep this too long as well, but I'm going to talk about what I just talked about, which is learning new things. Cool. So in this podcast, we learn new things, and this is very good for our brain. And you don't realize how good this is for our brain. So we're going to talk about why this is good and why you should implement this into your life, because when we learn the whys, we usually keep doing it. All right. Because if I say to you, oh, learning new things is good for your brain, you're going to be like, all right, okay. But like, here's a few reasons why. So we're going to get into that. Also, I am sorry if there's some noise here. Hopefully it's not too much. I actually could not tell you what the fuck is going on in my building at the minute, but it's fine. So the first thing that happens when we learn new things, a new bit of information, we read a book, and also this actually happens in meditation, is neuroplasticity. You've probably heard about this before, but this is when the neurons actually change and shift to make new neural pathways in the brain. And this is basically, in short form, updating your brain software, and makes you more sharp. It keeps you young for longer, and well, it doesn't keep you young for longer. Basically keeps you so sharp, all right? So neuroplasticity is so important, and it is so fucking cool that the brain can do this, and it can do this through meditation and learning new things. So if you're not a meditator, you can pick up a book, you can listen to this podcast, and you are going to be having neuroplasticity in your brain, all right? So that's number one. Okay, the next thing is learning new things increases your grey matter. So grey matter in the brain is involved in muscle control, sensory perception, and decision making, and self-control. So guys, anyone who has a lack of self-control, you can learn new things, and that can increase the grey matter in your brain. I'm such a nerd because like meditation also does this. So and also learning a new language, things like that are very, very good. I'm learning Irish at the moment, which I find difficult because no one will speak it with me right now over here. So if anyone knows anyone in Sydney that wants to do that and start a club, I'm here for that. The next thing is boost memory and cognitive reserve. So learning enhances your hippocampus. So the hippocampus is the part of the brain that has got to do with memory. So your hippocampus is also activated and gets larger when you meditate. So basically you remember better things. So people who learn throughout life are actually less likely to develop Alzheimer's as well. And it also builds cognitive reserve, which is like a buffer against age-related things like Alzheimer's. So I actually was listening to a podcast, Do You Fucking Mind? She's a great podcaster as well. She's a great podcaster. I'm like, as well. But I meant to say like she's a podcaster as well. But, you know, we'll take our self-love, you know. But she had a good representation of cognitive reserve, which I found very helpful. So basically it's like, think of a tree full of leaves. And over time, the leaves are falling. All right. But if you are cognitive reserve will actually be placing leaves back on. So basically over time, your brain does deteriorate and, you know, things kind of fall. Yeah. Right. So they shake the tree, they fall off. But basically when you are doing things like learning new things and you are meditating and you're doing all these things that are more delayed gratification, you are putting leaves back on your tree and you are making yourself be more prepared for when you're older and increasing your quality of life when you're older. So remember that. And I found that really, really, really amazing. And that really made me learn new things. So I really hope that you take that on board because that is something that held my why really, really well. I was like, I need to learn new things. I want to be the best quality of life up until my old age because, you know, you want to be there for your kids and your grandkids and hopefully your great grandkids. So hopefully that is a little trigger for you to learn new things. And also learning new things triggers things in your brain such as dopamine. I actually probably should do a full podcast on dopamine as I read a book on it and I feel like that could be quite interesting. Yeah, learning new things triggers dopamine. So your brain feels really, really good and you feel really good when this chemical is released. It not only boosts mood, but it also enhances motivation and focus. So it makes you want to keep going. All right. So for me, reading a book, I sometimes will be reading a book and I'm not learning new information or I'm not learning anything that is really that good, but there will be like a few sentences and I'll be like, oh my God, I just learned something new. That is something I can tell my followers. That is something I can tell my podcast. I get really excited and guess what happens? I read on. Sometimes when I'm reading a few pages and it's kind of like the same kind of thing, I can get a bit like, oh, okay. But I know there's going to be something in there that I don't know. And I'm always curious to know what it is. And like, if you're someone like me who reads a lot of self-development, reads a lot of books, you will be met with a lot of the same information, but there always is going to be something to learn from each book. And I'm always one of those people that wants to read on until they get it. And then that makes me read on. The same thing happens with meditation or anything that creates that dopamine feeling is that you will eventually get that little spike and it'll make you say, okay, I want to do that again. All right. So learning new things, which you might learn something new today and you might be feeling very sparked and very excited. So hopefully that's sparking your dopamine right now. So learning new things also requires concentration and problem solving, which strengthens the prefrontal cortex. And this is the area responsible for focus, emotional control, and decision making. Now, if you know me, you know I love the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. It's the front of your brain. A good way to describe it is the policeman. It tells you not to do things when they are wrong because when we are younger, we don't have that prefrontal cortex. We are developing it over time. We're learning new things and we're learning right from wrong. But our amygdala usually takes over and our emotions are mostly in control. And you will notice that, say you have a fight with your partner and you say things you regret, or you have a fight on a night out, or you just, anytime you say something you regret, it's usually out of emotion, but you feel attacked, so you're defending. Your amygdala is literally firing up. Men, I definitely feel like their amygdala is firing all the time. If you have a fight with your boyfriend, I always feel like Sam's prefrontal cortex takes a while to kick in, but over time, his prefrontal cortex, us live together, he has been like, okay, actually, me saying that, or me regretting, or me storming out, that's actually my emotional brain, my prefrontal cortex. Now I've ingrained in it that, like, you know, we're never going to break up and we're going to be fine. And it tells you, like, don't do that, like, because it kind of is your policeman to, like, stop your emotion taking over your brain. But anyway, when you learn new things, it actually will strengthen that part of your brain as well. The same as meditation. All these things strengthen your brain and your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex, and you'll be more in control of your responses. So learning new things is the absolute jam, and I'm obsessed with it. So I'm not going to get too much into detail today because you haven't given me any they say for this action. I will give you a quote of the week. Okay, the quote of the week is, To lead the orchestra, you have to turn your back on the crowd. I'm sorry, but I'm obsessed with that. I can't believe I've never heard that before. To lead the orchestra, to be a leader, to be someone who is going to help the consciousness of the world, is going to help people, is going to orchestrate something beautiful, sometimes, actually most of the time, have to turn their back on the crowd. So if anyone is going through something where they feel like this light, they feel like this enlightenment, and they want to do something in the world, most of the time they're met with a lot of judgment because it's kind of out of the norm and people don't like to be threatened in that way. And you usually can be met with like a little bit of judgment. I mean, I'm sure you probably see this all the time on like TikTok or whatever, when people are trying to, embrace this new world of content creation and sharing their lives and doing all these things. And people are just writing in the comments like, who do you think you are? Blah, 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 blah. No, you have to sometimes turn your back on the crowd to lead. And I really hope that even I do that for you guys, that, when you come from a small town and you come from like judgment and you feel judgment and you've just decided to turn your back on it and be like, yeah, let's go. Because no matter what, there's always going to be people talking about you. Always, 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 especially if you're doing something out of the norm. But to lead that orchestra, you have to turn your back on the crowd. I'm sorry, but I'm obsessed with that. That deserves a fucking round of applause. I don't know which one's a round of applause. I'm not even using that microphone. But I also would love to know what you think of my podcast. Please write comments. If you want to favorite them or give me a review or anything, there's comment section in the Spotify now, and I would just love to know. Please let me know any of your dilemmas, anything you want to talk about. Please put it in the comment section or follow the Sinead Says podcast. We're having a few competitions on the Sinead Says podcast this year as well. So please do that. And I will see you next week. Sending love and light.